obviously, you got to go handle business. You got to win 3 games to give yourself a guaranteed spot. You win 2 of them, you're going to make a case, especially if you do lose at Georgia a week from Saturday or even home to A&M. It's got to be very, very close. And you give yourself a chance to get one of those last couple spots. But obviously, 3 wins. And let me say this, Jack. If I tell you I went back and we'll rewatch this game, and I fast forwarded through the fourth quarter because I knew the outcome, so I didn't have to sit through that again. All the bad officiating calls and blown coverages and all of it. But for the first 3 quarters, what would you say, I will say, was the single biggest takeaway from why the Longhorns built a 34-10 lead?
The pocket. Arch Manning throwing from a clean pocket?
Well, close. Expand that. The lines of scrimmage. The lines of scrimmage, without a doubt.
6 sacks.
So the reason, as you go back and watch it, the key factor in those first 3 quarters was against a really good opponent.
Right.
For the first time in 2025, the Longhorns didn't just win the line of scrimmage, they dominated the line of scrimmage and overwhelmed a very good Vanderbilt team. And remember, when I say very good, Clark Lee's team came into that game with the 3rd best rushing offense in the SEC. They were averaging over 203 yards per game on the ground. All season against good competition, including Alabama, including Missouri, all these games, they had only allowed 26 tackles for loss all season. They had limited their first 7 opponents to 7 total sacks. And on the other side of the ball, they came in as a top 25 unit defensively in the nation in total defense, tackles for loss, sacks per game, all the categories that matter to an offense to be efficient. As well as, on that side of the ball, they had a top 20 ranking against the run. They were allowing just 100 yards per game. So you're facing a unit in Clark Lee's team that's very formidable on their lines of scrimmage. That's how they're built around Diego Pavia as a quarterback. And what did Texas do? Well, they kept Arch Manning upright all game. They didn't allow a sack, just 1 tackle for loss against that defense. Their much maligned offensive line consistently reestablished the line of scrimmage in the run game. Only 4 of the Longhorns' 27 official rushing attempts were stopped for no gain. So they were getting a push, and that allowed them to stay ahead of the change, which the effect of that over the first 3 quarters was 7 for 11 on 3rd downs, 5 touchdowns, 5 trips into the red zone, which red zone's been a big issue for Texas. And then on defense, they were even better than the offense because against Diego Pavia and company, that Diego Pavia, and look, the numbers would tell you through 2 months of football, Jack, Vanderbilt has the most efficient offense in the Southeastern Conference. Not the highest scoring, but they're one of the highest scoring, but the most efficient offense in the SEC and one of the best in the country. Well, they couldn't move the ball. The Texas front sacked Pavia 6 times. As I said, they had only allowed 7 the whole season so far. They recorded 10 tackles for loss. They held the usually dominant Vandy run game to 105 total yards, but most of that came from Pavia's legs on scrambles. The running backs averaged under 2 yards a carry. Cedric Alexander and his backup, they couldn't do anything. Offensively, Texas threw a blanket over a very good team, and people will say, well, that's Vanderbilt. Well, no, I'm going on data. The data told you for 2 months of football against very good teams, that was one of the best offenses and one of the most solid defenses in all of the SEC and all of college football. And Texas completely dominated them, which when you're listening to Joel Klatt say, well, you got to win your next 3. Well, you play like that on the lines of scrimmage and Arch Manning is protected. Mm-hmm. And you one of the things they did against Vanderbilt, which was somewhat new for this year, and I'm sure they're going to lean into it moving forward, is they started moving Anthony Hill off of his linebacker spot because they trust Leonga Lafau and Ty Anthony Smith. And Anthony Hill was coming as a rusher.
Yeah, good things happen when he rushes.
When
the
he
passer.
and Colin Simmons and Ethan Burke and Trey Moore and all these guys are all coming, you're not blocking them.
Yeah.
You're not blocking them. There's nobody in college football blocking those 4 guys. That is the NASCAR package, as they call it, or they put their pass rush package on the field. When they get you, when they can stuff your run and get you to, because I was doing on our in-game watch along on YouTube on Texas football. I kept talking about how important 2nd down was, right? If they would get a stuff on 1st down, or Pavia would try to throw a pass on 1st down to get ahead of the chains, and it'd be incomplete. If Texas could win 2nd down and get it to 3rd and longer than 7 or 8, they were going to win. Because that's when they brought Anthony Hill, that's when they brought Colin Simmons, that's when they brought the blitzes, or not the blitzes, they didn't have to rush. They just bring those 4 guys, Ethan Burke on top of it, and they got home against a team that only allowed 7 sacks all year. They allowed 6 in that game. And it was overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And that was the recipe for Texas. That's why I said, coming in on Monday, everybody's going to freak out about the 4th quarter, and I get it because it got too close for comfort. But in the end, it was about those first 3 quarters of why they can be a college football playoff team and do some damage in the playoff, because that's the best front 7. That's the most overwhelming front 7 in college football. And listen to Sark. And I also mentioned this, Jack. Right now, Texas leads the nation in sacks with 34 sacks and coming on like a house of fire. Remember, they didn't have a sack against a Power 4 opponent until through the Florida game.
Right.
So leading the nation has come from Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Kentucky. Now this Vanderbilt game, they've really built that 34 sack resume against bad teams in September and now 5 teams in a row. This is a team, and Georgia is their next opponent a week from Saturday. You know where Georgia ranks in sacks in the country? 127th.
Yeah, that's not typical of a Georgia
No,
defense. This
Texas
is not a
has the
typical
Georgia
team.
defense.
Right.
Texas has that typical early 2020s Georgia defense, and now they're figuring it out on the line of scrimmage on the offensive side. Here's Sark on winning the line of scrimmage emphatically against a very good team.
Because I think we're getting better. I really do. I think we're getting better as a team. And, again, that's why I don't think the score was kind of indicative of how the game went. We got to play better in the fourth quarter, don't get me wrong. But we're playing better football right now. We're taking care of the ball. We've had 1 turnover in 4 games. We're taking care of the ball better. We're creating turnovers. We're stopping the run. We're starting to run the ball better. We need to run it better. We're converting third downs. We're doing a lot of things really well. We're playing better at the line of scrimmage now on both sides of the ball. So we're getting better. And so, yeah, to your point, I am excited that we were able to play a team in that style of game and minimize their strengths and make it a strength of ours. And so there was a lot of things to point to in that game where it's like, okay, we're starting to hit our stride a little bit more. And there's some things to clean up. We're not a finished product, but we're getting better. And that's a credit to our players of working at their craft. That's a credit to the coaches of trying to put players in the right position to be successful, whether it's schematically or personnel grouping wise. But I think there's a level of confidence right now with our team of, man, we're getting better. We got to stay the course because we're going to need to be better over the next 3 weeks for sure.
Yep, well, no doubt, because they have 2 top 5 teams over the next 3 weeks, starting a week from Saturday. And Arkansas, I mean, don't sleep on the Razorbacks because they come in and play, big time Bobby Petrino offense. That's a team if you play good defense against them, but you can't let that Arkansas game sneak in because they have played a lot of close games at Arkansas. Their defense is not good at all, but you come in with your, looking ahead to A&M. If you were able to beat Georgia on the high, don't sleep on Arkansas either.